All rise.
I want viewers watching my show to believe in themselves.
Judge Hatchett is compelling.
I was not the first one to throw a walk.
Let me just tell you what you just said.
Compassionate.
I really enjoy being a judge. Now I am touching people who I will never know I touched.
She's powerful.
You should have never let them walk out of your life when she was 3.
And she's on the bench.
Don't get me preaching up in here today.
Right.
You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. Janice Tuckers is suing Kate Bills in the amount of $2,000. Ms. Tuckers claims she was injured by an intoxicated teen at her neighbor's New Year's Eve party and says the defendant needs to pay up.
Ms. Tuckers, Ms. Bills, you are on the opposite side of my courtroom because of an incident that happened at a New Year's Eve party, I understand.
Yes.
All right, please begin by telling me what happened.
We know one another because we've been neighbors for at least 5 years. I moved there 5 years ago. Kate has been there for 10 years. And I was injured at her New Year's Eve party a couple of months ago by a drunken teen that fell into me, and I fell backwards and ended up with a concussion. And there was alcohol served at Ms. Bill's house. And I think I'm suing her because it happened at her house, and she's responsible for the teens drinking the alcohol.
Was there alcohol being served to minors in your home at this party?
So what happened was I put a set of rules. It was an email that went out. It was a blast that went out to everybody. They even put it on social media indicating that I would be providing, my husband and I, my ex at the time, all of the alcohol. And then from that point, Ian, my son, would be overseeing all of the teens at the party.
Okay, well, let's stop right now. Ian is in charge of all the teens. How old is Ian?
He's 19.
You put a 19-year-old in charge of the teenagers and monitoring whether they're drinking at the party?
Well, there were all the parents were there. So it wasn't like the teens were by themselves. Parents were there. They were going in and up in the room. So it was a joint effort.
So the person who injured Ms. Tuckers was a teen at the party?
Yes. So,
and tell me about that situation.
Okay, so basically what happened, Ian Daniel's his best friend. He's a couple years younger. He's 17. He's his best friend. So when they were upstairs where all the kids were, where all the teens were, he noticed that Daniel wasn't really talking much.
Okay.
And so he asked him, yo, man, what's up? And so when he saw that his eyes were bulging, he was a little distracted and disengaged from the conversation, he saw that possibly he may have gotten into the alcohol. So that's when Daniel said...
So where was the alcohol?
Daniel snuck it upstairs, but Ian didn't see it. But listen to this. So once Ian found out, because Daniel said, yo, homie, look what I got, he grabbed it from him, and while he poured it out, Daniel ran downstairs for round 2. And so Ian ran to grab him. She's snooping around trying to find situations at my party because I'm not with my husband any longer, and she's trying to find a way to get at me. And so that's what she did.
Oh,
she's
wait,
trying to set me up.
So not true.
Hold it.
Yes, it is.
So
I said hold it. What is going on between you? I'm going to get back to this because I'm really concerned about these kids underage drinking. What is going on between the two of you all?
we used to be closer, and when Kate got divorced a couple of years ago, things changed. She became a little more she just began enjoying life. I guess she began drinking more.
Are you jealous because you're on lockdown?
She began drinking more and just being irresponsible. And I tried to talk to her about it, and she yelled at me. So we just became a little more distant than we had been.
You just want to get into my business because you're trying to get at me.
I was trying to help,
because
but that's
your
okay.
husband likes me, but that's another point.
No, whatever. Oh no, that's just a low blow. That's just a low
when he took me home, I think it's quite accurate.
Right.
Whatever.
Make it up like you want. Make it up like you want.
He dropped it like it's hot,
and I knew he took you home.
Have mercy. Back to this party. I am really concerned about these teens getting into alcohol and drinking. So what's going on again?
My child, Ian, he's very responsible. He was overseeing it. He had and I made sure he did, because I went upstairs. He had the room on lock. There was movies going on. Some of the kids were reading books. The next thing he knew, Daniel wasn't really talking to him. He noticed that he was like reclusive. And so he's like, yo, man, what's up? What's up, homie? And then he noticed his eyes were glazed.
Yeah, you were saying
and then
that.
Daniel brought out the alcohol. And he got on it immediately. Should he have told me during that time? Yes, he should have. And I take full responsibility for that. And he was severely reprimanded for it.
So he didn't tell you?
At the time, he didn't.
He did not tell you?
No.
So
No.
how did it end up that you got injured?
Because I was downstairs. I just took it upon myself,
Snooping,
Your Honor. No, I was
nosing
not
around.
snooping. I was a guest,
What
and
you
I was
do
just
best.
sitting downstairs where the alcohol was and observing, because I'm a social worker, and just any time, and then that is my concern, that the alcohol and the teens. So I was just kind of keeping an eye out, helping you.
And that's when you got injured.
And Daniel fell off the stairs because he was so drunk, Your Honor. He fell off the stairs and onto me. I fell backwards and hit my head on the wood floor.
Coming up on The Verdict with Judge Hatchett.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
What?
And I got on Ian about it. He should have told me then.
I
and
warned you. You just didn't listen.
Watered
You
down
didn't care. It
warnings,
wasn't important.
because everything you do is to tear me apart.
No, it is not. I'm sorry you
Yes,
think that, but that is so not
I'm
true.
done with you.
And later,
If you've seen my house, you would understand why I'm upset.
Who puts a fryer right next to their house?
Who doesn't dry a turkey?
Who's supposed to know you dry a turkey?
The Verdict with Judge Hatchett is back with the case of Janice Tuckers, who is suing Kate Bills for medical expenses.
So let me just say a couple of things to you all, because this is serious. This is serious. We've got a kid, at least one kid that we know about, who's in your home at a party, underage.
But there's
drinking.
one, there's more, probably.
Do-
I'm
I don't-
sorry, Your Honor.
I do not need your help.
I'm so sorry, Your Honor.
I do not need
I'm
your
sorry.
help.
I apologize.
And so we've got a situation where there is a tremendous responsibility when we've got young folk around in the alcohol room. And there are people literally who have served time in prison because they allowed alcohol to be served. Now, did they purposely, perhaps? No, not necessarily, but there was alcohol served. And because there was alcohol served, in one case in particular, both parents ended up in jail because the teen consumed the alcohol at their home and then went out and got into a car and killed some people. And so not only was there the civil liability of them being sued because he consumed alcohol on their premises, but they were also considered to be complicit in the people dying. Can you imagine having kids and then both parents are sent off to jail behind this? And so we as parents have to be particularly vigilant and responsible in these situations, because as I have said, and as I said in the first book that I wrote about parenting, Say What You Mean and Mean What You Say, is that if God had intended for kids not to need parents, they would have been born grown.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
What?
I'm not complicit about it, and I got on Ian about it. So it wasn't that I was cavalier, but he should have told me then.
I warned you. I warned you.
Your warnings
I
are
talked to you ahead of time. You just didn't listen.
watered
You
down
didn't care.
warnings,
It wasn't important.
because everything you do is to tear me apart.
No, it is
Everything.
not. I'm sorry you think that, but that is so not
I'm
true.
done with you.
I think there's some stuff that needs to happen here. I'm going to rule on the $2,000, but I also think that there is some, there's some stuff. But I do think that this could have been a far worse had Janice not been down there. You say she was snooping. I think that it was a good thing that she was down there and saw what was happening with Daniel and Ian, because Ian didn't come and tell you what had happened. Right. And so for that, you ought to be grateful, because what would have happened had Daniel left that house, had he been intoxicated, had he gotten into a car, and if he had killed somebody? this will be a very different conversation in my courtroom today than we're having right now. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And so, premises liability, she got hurt on your property. It was approximate cause of Daniel having been drinking underage on your property. Hopefully you can file an insurance claim on this with your homeowner's insurance or whatever. But you know, she's entitled to the $2,000 claim. And that's what I'm going to award her. I'm going to award her damages in the amount of $2,000. But you know what? Sometimes you need to back up a minute and take a deep breath before you're so quick to criticize.
Yes, Judge.
And maybe be more helpful in how you do constructive criticism of people. And then you need to be more open to people trying to be supportive in this situation. If there's nothing further, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. We'll stand adjourned.
Judge Hatchett has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $2,000.
I'm glad I won, but I was just looking out for your best interest. I do hope we can go back to being close again.
And I'm sorry that this happened to you, but be clear. You may have won the battle, but you did not win the war.
All right, however you want.
Coming up,
Do you know what happens when you put water in with oil?
Apparently it explodes.
I have.
network featuring dynamic judges and live legal programming.
Well, we're not at your school, we're in my courtroom.
Unique court shows,
Where is any information about the company?
live legal news,
That's what you should have done.
and a commitment to justice.
Either you tried or you did it.
The next generation of court programming in one dynamic network. Justice Central. You're watching Justice Central. Stay tuned. You're watching Justice Central. Coming up at 10:30, watch America's Court with Judge Ross. Then catch a double dose of We the People, followed by Supreme Justice with Judge Karen at noon. The verdict is in, right here on Justice Central. You're watching Justice Central. You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. Eddie Pollock is suing Harrison Murphy in the amount of $1,512. Mr. Pollock claims Mr. Murphy brought a semi-thawed turkey to a church turkey fry and says his home was damaged after a fire broke out.
Hi, Mr. Pollock. You are suing the defendant for $1,512.
Yes, ma'am.
Involving fried turkeys.
Yes.
Start at the top and tell me what happened.
I take pride in making sure that everyone who comes to our turkey fry is well informed. So we send out emails, we send out flyers. This young man is new to our community. My family and I invited him to church, welcomed him to the community.
Did they come and welcome you?
If by welcome you mean harass, yes, ma'am.
Harass? How did they harass you?
They would knock on my door at all hours of the day, 4 or 5 times a week. I told them I'd come visit their church at one point or another, but they kept knocking on my door, putting things in my mailbox. I'm from New York. We stay separate from everybody.
How is it that you became a client or participated in the turkey fry?
I was invited.
You were invited, but you did not RSVP.
No one told me I had to RSVP. Your Honor, he said that he was very open with all the information, but there was nothing on the flyer. I didn't get any email. I literally walked by it one day on the street and was like, oh, well, I'll bring a turkey. And apparently you have to dry it. I don't even know what that means. I toweled it off. It wasn't sweating
Your
or
Honor,
anything.
apparently they don't have turkeys in New York, except for this guy who
Oh,
moved.
come on. You're just being snide.
Well, if you've seen my house, you would understand why I'm upset.
Who puts a fryer right next to their house?
Who doesn't dry a turkey?
Who's supposed to know you dry a turkey?
We are a church fellowship that is trying to do something nice for our community. We were warming up the oil. We were getting things ready to start putting in turkeys. So unbeknownst to me, I put this turkey that he said was dry into the fryer. Guess what, Your Honor? It was not dry on the inside. It was half frozen. Do you know what happens when you put water in with oil?
Apparently it explodes.
I have my back of my house right here.
Coming up,
He didn't even check. He just grabbed it and threw it in.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You can take a shower and have your outside dry and clean, but your inside is very dirty.
The Verdict with Judge Hatchett is back with the case of Eddie Pollock, who is suing Harrison Murphy for property damage.
Oh, Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
Okay, Mr. Murphy, you bring a turkey. Tell me how you prep the turkey to bring it to the fry.
Well, I bought it a day or so before, and I left it on the counter for a few hours, thinking that a good half of day would be enough. But apparently the turkey that I bought was larger than what Google and all the internet said, and apparently it just took longer. I thought it was dry. The outside had no water on it. I used a towel. Apparently I was wrong. But here's the thing, Your Honor. It's his event. He didn't even check. He just grabbed it and threw it in. It's his responsibility to make sure.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You can take a shower and have your outside dry and clean, but your inside is very dirty.
That's because we're made of water. Of course we're going to be wet on the inside.
All right, I'm getting ready to rule on this. I have had enough of this. This is all I can take. I can't take any more of this today. I really can't. Mr. Murphy.
Yes, ma'am.
You had a responsibility to bring, and you had the flyer, to bring this dry. Don't forget to dry your birds before they fry. Kind of a clever thing, right?
Thank you.
If you put a frozen turkey.
I did not know it was frozen, Your Honor.
But you didn't leave it out long enough to defrost. And you bring it in, and the fact that you didn't know it was not frozen still is on you. It seems to me that if you are going to be welcoming people to a community, you've got to have more tolerance. Everybody's not like you. Everybody doesn't share the same religion as you do. Everybody doesn't have the same culture, background. So let's try to be more understanding and more nurturing and more supportive, because goodness knows this nation could use a lot more of that and more nurturing of people.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Murphy, under these circumstances, I am entering judgment in favor of the plaintiff for $1,512. And I would hope that this could be a beginning of something more civil between the two of you. Nothing further, we will stand adjourned.
Judge Hatchett has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $1,512.
Even though you were found to be wrong, I am going to make a concerted effort to continue to welcome you into our community in a very real way.
And I'm a little disappointed, but I will do my best to incorporate myself into the community, though it may take some time.